welcome. By way of quick introduction, I'm Charlie. I'm the CEO of Advent Tech, and this is Sawyer. Many of you have talked to him about your Microsoft licensing. So he's our licensing pro. I'm logged into the Advent Tech Google admin console. So, I guess you can actually see the full size of our company here. I wanted to show you this as a bonus. I know 99% of you on this call will know how to do this, but we're going to talk about how Google is making AI accessible to all students, all ages. If you don't know where to find those settings, here's the admin console, the Gemini app. You have to go in and decide if you want it on for everyone or on for specific groups. Gemini for Workspace. If you haven't seen this, this is really more of an alpha tool, right? If you've ever done this with Google, where you can turn on sort of alpha features, which are sort of new features, not generally released to the public, but you want your users to be able to have and test new features from Google before they're widely available to everybody. Most of you IT folks obviously know what that is. But we serve a broad range of folks, including, charter schools and private schools that don't have as technical resources. And then the other one to make sure you look out for is Notebook LM. Another great AI resource, but if you're not planning to make it available to your students, you'll need to go in here and turn that off as well. So lots of other things in here in the Google admin console, but we just wanted to show you right here under generative AI, that's the section where you need to go in. And if you specifically want to turn it on or off for everyone or based on groups or organizational units, you can totally do that. So if your teachers are actively using Notebook LM or Gemini, great. If you don't want them to have that kind of access, then obviously this is where you go in and make those decisions. So without further ado, Sawyer, take it away, and why don't you tell the folks what they want?
So we wanted to bring up the direct Google document on this, just so it's straight from the source. We're not making anything ourselves. It's just direct from Google, and then we can decipher it. First one is going to be, streamlining the education standard and education plus licensing model. So it says we're moving to a single license type for both Education Standard, Education Plus subscriptions. Previously, Education Plus had different licenses for staff and students because they had different features. Moving forward, all licenses have access to the same features, so we're moving to one single license type for all users. This single license type will simplify licensing assignments and ordering processes, unify support. So the main change here, the current model is going to be customers purchasing Education Plus or Education Standard receive one staff license at no cost for every 4 paid student licenses. So with the future model, there's going to be no separate and staff student licenses. It means, no longer receive a staff license at no cost for every student license purchase. Instead, customers should cover each of their active education fundamentals licenses with either an Education Plus or an Education Standard model. What this really means for us or for you is Google's ending the old setup where staff and students have different license types because of the different features. So now everyone's getting the same capabilities. So you're basically going to be consolidating, into just one license type for all users. No more mixing and matching license type, which I know a lot of schools like to do. The flip side of that is it'll simplify assigning them. It's going to line up with your renewal dates a little bit better, make for easier tracking, and hopefully speed up the whole ordering and renewal process. So 4 for 1 is going away. Instead, it's free for all if you stick to fundamentals or pay for all if you're upgrading to standard or plus. You'll need to cover every active user with a paid license on top of their fundamental license. But if you're renewing plus and growing your licenses by at least 10%, you'll snag a 10% discount for that first year, which will help smooth the transition. So to make the most of this, Charlie and I recommend performing audits on your licenses. Make sure you go in, ensure any alumni or faculty who don't really use the full tools are shifted to archive or Gmail only option. And then you can free up those fundamentals licenses. So Google's going to assign you fundamentals licenses based on your student and staff count, and then it's up to you to assign those licenses. You can kind of think of it like in the past, Google treated fundamentals licenses like a faucet where they could just kind of turn it on and for schools that just keep needing more. Now it's more like they're handing you a pitcher of water and you kind of decide who gets water in their glass. Um, they'll still assign you extra licenses if you truly need them, but they want to see that you're allocating users properly first. And if you've had scenarios where teachers were on Plus while students stayed on fundamentals, keep in mind that continuing Plus means rolling it out across the board, so no more partials allowed anymore. Moving on to the next section. So this has to do with the minimum purchase requirement. So current model, customers are required to purchase the greater of 50 Education Standard or Education Plus licenses, or Education Standard or Plus licenses to cover their total student enrollment, including full and part time. And they're moving to customers are required to purchase the greater of 50 Education Standard or Education Plus licenses, or Education Standard or Education Plus licenses equal to or greater than the sum of their total student enrollment, representing all students, including full-time and part-time, and all staff that require an active fundamentals license. Think of it like ordering tickets for a school trip. The old rule, it's you must you got to buy tickets for every student going to the museum, or 50 tickets, whichever is more, and then teachers get in free. With the new rule, think of it like you got to buy tickets for every student and every teacher going, or 50 tickets, whichever is more. No more free tickets for the teachers. It's the same idea with Google licenses. So before count students, now count students and faculty. Fundamentals is still available for every school that qualifies, but two things are changing. The one is the pool limit. So Google is going to give you a set number of the free fundamentals licenses based on the current users plus a buffer. When that pool runs out, you can't create any new users until you free up licenses or request more. And then no mixing paid features. So if you want any paid features like advanced security, classroom analytics, or you want to increase your meet participant, you got to buy standard or plus licenses for everyone who needs those features. So you can't just buy one or two. You have to, meet the minimum of 50 or student staff, whatever is larger. So you can't stay on 100% on fundamentals for free. But as soon as you need any paid features, then you enter the pay world and you got to meet those minimums. So then the next point, pricing adjustment. Really, the only price adjustments we're going to see is on Education Plus, which is going from $5 to $6. And then teaching and learning add-on is going from $48 to $60 per user per year. I'll make that clear. And then flexible plans moving from 480 per user per month, or the equivalent price. And then it's moving to $6 per user per month, or the equivalent price. So for schools that used to do, maybe they would have everybody on standard, and they would have, teachers on teaching and learning. With that price increase, it might make sense to just upgrade teachers to teaching and learning. There's no minimum for that add-on. It might make more sense just to put everybody on Plus if you're going to get those extra features. Kind of depends on your certain scenario. We can always meet with you one-on-one, and it is something to think about. So Education Plus and teaching and learning are both getting a price bump. So next is going to be pricing and licensing. So
This might have been the most confusing part from our initial calls with Google and distribution, by the way. And so if anybody was not sure, this is a great clarification, because, everything was kind of October 1st, October 1st, October 1st, but it's like actually only some people are affected by that date.
Right. And after talking with Google, I mean, certain circumstances can even change those a little bit. So it's still a little touch and go. But I mean, the gist of it is if you're making a new purchase of fundamentals to Education Plus, so that upgrade you have until October 1st, 2025. A renewal. So if you're renewing Education Plus, um, and yeah, you're renewing Education Plus, you'll have until February 1st, 2026, where you still get the same rate. If you're downgrading, going from Education Plus to teaching and learning add-on, or if you're going from Education Plus to standard, you'll have until October 1st. If you're doing a repurchase with a long-term lapse, so if your licenses have lapsed 30 days plus, you'll have until October 1st to lock in the current prices. If you're upgrading, if you're on standard now or fundamentals, you're going to plus, you'll have until February 1st, 2026. And if you're doing a repurchase, less than 30 days between Education Plus renewal date and Education Plus repurchase, you'll have until February 1st, 2026.
I think that was so confusing to us when we were first hearing those terms. They're like, well, if it's a repurchase, it's October 1st. Well,
Right.
unless it's this repurchase. And then if it's renewal, if you're paying money for something you haven't paid money for in the past, October 1st is kind of your date. If you're really just doing a renewal, then February 1st is really your date.
Yeah. And yeah, they do make it clear any attempts to end existing commitments early to rebook before new pricing takes effect will be blocked. So it's kind of a case by case basis how they're treating it. But you have some breathing room to plan for the most part, especially if you're renewing soon. The early renewals can keep old rates until 2026. It's basically like getting a heads up before the price tag changes at your favorite store. So it'll give you some time to budget. Check your renewal dates now. See if you can lock in current pricing. If you're eyeing multi-year deals, they have some pretty good discounts for those. So chat with your reseller to nail down the best approach. It's going to be all about, this is all about avoiding budget surprises. So let's make sure your timelines are clear on that end. So then the next big one is, like Charlie touched on earlier, the Gemini education add-on. So before we had Gemini education at $20 per user per month with an annual commitment. And then you had the Gemini education premium at $30 per user per month with an annual commitment. And then starting August 28th, new customers can purchase the single add-on Google AI Pro for Education, which includes all the advanced features previously found in Gemini Education Premium. And then beginning February 1st, 2026, customers with existing Gemini Education Premium subscriptions will automatically transition to the new Google AI Pro for Education subscription at the renewal. In order to renew on the new Google AI Pro for Education subscription before February 1st, 2026, customers must turn off auto renewal and go through a Google Assisted offer. So, Gemini Education, which used to be a separate add-on, is now included for free on all Google Workspace for Education editions, starting with Fundamentals and going up to Standard and Plus, which is pretty big. It means every user in your domain gets access to Gemini's AI tools, like lesson planning, content creation, at no extra cost, as long as you have the Fundamentals license. The only paid add-on now is Google AI Pro for Education, which used to be Gemini Education Premium, which offers the advanced features and higher usage limit, which will be now priced at $20 per user per month with the annual contract commitment, down from the old premium pricing of $30 per user per month. So that is becoming a better deal for those needing the extra power. So it is going to be, like Charlie touched on earlier, it is going to be turned on for everybody. You want to make sure, if you don't want student staff to have it, go into your admin console, like Charlie shared on the video earlier, and make sure that's turned off if you don't want it on, because it will be on automatically. Google will still be doing their verification letters. So it's going to be required for all Education Standard and Plus orders. So when you talk to your reseller, they will ask you to complete the letter the first time of purchase. They might also require a letter at renewals if the edition or license count changes in any way. So keep in mind for that. But yeah, I mean, that mainly covers most of the changes. The big one to me is ending the buy 4 students get the teacher license for free. I know working with a lot of schools, that was kind of a big advantage to working with Google. Microsoft does something similar, but plan early, work through your budgets, work through your renewals. We're always available to hop on a call with you and talk about your specific setups.
We had a question from a call that we did earlier this week with someone, and it had to do with like, is this a step towards Google not offering free licenses anymore for fundamentals, customers? And I thought it was a very interesting question. I said, well, there's kind of a long history with companies like Microsoft for sure, and then Adobe and Google, and where if you start to offer free licenses to schools and then you try to change that, oftentimes the federal government steps in. So I said I think Google will probably for a very long time, same as Microsoft, offer a free version. They might just make that free version more restrictive, more audits, online only apps in the case of Microsoft, right? So Sawyer, do you think you have an answer to that question?
Yeah. So you'll want to go into your admin account on the home dash, click billing, choose subscriptions. Sometimes it's shown as get more services, and then subscriptions. And then look at the labeled card for Education Plus, Education Standard, or Teaching and Learning Upgrade. And then under the edition name, you'll see two dates, the start date and the end date. And the end date will be your renewal date. If you do see auto renewal on, the same date will roll forward 1 year, unless you turn off auto renewal at least 15 days beforehand. If you don't see a billing tab, just ask your reseller. They'll be able to point you in the best direction and find those out for you.
Any reason
Is
we
there
want to
any
change
reason?
from free licenses to paid?
That kind of depends on your school setup. Some of the features of, Plus, um, they increase meet participants if you have a large school district. If you like their advanced security, all those advanced features, you do get more out of Google. I mean, certain schools, maybe they'll already have something in place for security, or they'll have something in place for analytics. So all they really need from Google is their simple workspace tools. Some of them want all that bundled together and just want, consolidated billing all through Google. So it's kind of a case by case basis, but advanced features, security, analytic, um, increasing meet participants. Um, the Plus will come with teaching and learning attached to it, so that's another benefit.
Are there districts solely using Google?
We do see some schools that prefer just using Google. I would say the majority, in some capacity, they like to use both. So they'll have a hybrid environment, and give their students and staff more flexibility on what they decide to use. Some teachers love Google and think it's really user friendly, and some love all the features and everything that Microsoft offers. So
Yeah, I mean, ironically, I'll use our company as a case in point. Knowing we were going to be so education focused, um, we don't have Microsoft accounts, right? So some folks do have, personal Microsoft accounts where, so they can access a downloadable Excel and things like that. But you don't need to have a Microsoft domain. And some schools we've also worked with, they've really gotten off of Microsoft Active Directory, Entra ID, whatever you want to call it now, for user authentication. And now and for any security and whatever else. But they can still get device licensing. I think some people don't realize that you can still get device licensing if you have to have some Microsoft Office applications, and then just really run all your user authentication and everything else through Google. Thanks so much for your time, everyone. Hopefully this was helpful.
yeah, thanks everybody.